F1 Lights Out Podcast, Episode 1. And I am here with Robbie and Arshik. Max, right? I think. Australia set up. And we are going to be doing our introduction in a few minutes. We're just going to ready up for the race. You can ready up now, Max.
Sure, give me 1 second.
I'm beginning P17 apparently. I was meant to be getting last.
I am P18.
Yeah, you're right behind me, so we're good. This is 100% race for the duration of the podcast, and it's just me and Arshik in it while Max is spectating. No, me and Arshik are in here, and then Robbie's spectating. Forgot to turn off the bloody formation lap. Okay. If you want to pause Arctic, you can reply to that.
Make sure you get some heat into the brakes as well.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to begin your introduction there, Robbie?
Yeah, sure, I can do. So yeah, I'm Robbie. Basically got into F1 properly in about 2007 when Lewis Hamilton first got into F1 and into the McLaren. Before that, I watched it, occasionally, but I wasn't properly into it. The 2005 and 6 seasons when Alonso won with Renault. But yeah, the Hamilton season was the real breakthrough, seeing a Brit in F1 actually doing well, and that really just caught my imagination, and especially that incredible end to the 2007 season with Hamilton winning it on the last lap. And that the heartbreak to ecstasy moment there. Yeah, that just basically made me fall in love with F1. Yeah, ever since been a big Hamilton fan and a big F1 fan. So yeah, that's my story.
Arctic, do you want to do yours next?
Sure.
Before we reach the line.
I'm Max, for Arctic, gamer tag. I'm pretty much the same, kind of 07 for me.
I replied to him, by the way. Hi, I'm Alex. I began watching F1 back in the F1 2006 season. Back when Fernando Alonso, I think, won his first championship. And I've been watching ever since, and since got into McLaren a lot as well. But I kind of followed McLaren to Braun, not really to continue with McLaren, when McLaren Braun to Mercedes. Kind of why I'm a Mercedes fan to this day. Always been a fan of the team, not necessarily of a driver. If I had to pick a driver that I like on the grid, but it's if I had to pick a driver on the grid that I'm probably the biggest fan of right now, I would say Daniel Ricciardo. So who wants to bring us into the next topic?
I mean, I'm happy to.
Lovely.
So, I mean, obviously we're starting this podcast in the middle, obviously. Well, at the very start of the current season. So I think it's probably best to do sort of a recap of last season and our thoughts on it. And just and obviously we all know that Hamilton won his 5th World Championship, obviously in Mexico. But it was, I think, it was quite an exciting season. The end sort of, I think what was interesting about it was sort of the collapse of Ferrari towards the end, and we'll probably go into that in more detail. But yeah, we'll sort of go through the big talking point we want to more this season to catch up.
Well, we can more or less skip the first half of the season because it was like neck and neck until like Austria, when Merck kind of had a bit of a swing point when they lost both cars to engine failures, which is one of the first times I think that's ever happened from my recollection.
From engine failures, yeah, I'm pretty
Car
sure.
fault,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Definitely from
The
engine
only other
failures.
times was obviously Hamilton and Rosberg.
Rosberg, but that was driver fault, so yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Then moving into probably the biggest swing race of the season was then Germany, when Vettel ended up bottling it
Yeah.
into a wall in the rain when Hamilton kind of just gained a lot of grip on that track and went from 14th to 1st.
Yeah, it was an incredible race.
Fair enough.
And also, I think what was interesting to note was that before that race, Silverstone, Vettel won at Silverstone, and he'd won at their turf, and then that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly bring up my stream really quick. But that was kind of the swing for it, and then we came into Belgium, which we're going to talk about more about the administration era of Force India.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that in a bit. But moving on to more of an interesting note is would be how Hamilton just won race after race after race for an excessive amount of time.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, that win of that run of wins that he went on, which was only ended in the United States when obviously Kimi won. But it was literally just race win after race win, as you say. And I mean, I think there was one race win where he was gifted the win by Bottas. But that was because Bottas was in a situation when he was nowhere near the championship, and Merck obviously took the decision to do that. Yeah,
which is entirely fair. Well,
exactly.
In my opinion, it's a bit of a miracle that Merck actually won the constructors that year with how much he was struggling.
Yeah, exactly. It was certainly Bottas did not perform well. I'm not sure if he finished ahead of Raikkonen in the championship in the end or behind, but I know he's very close.
He was very slightly behind after his result in Abu Dhabi. But it was very close.
So yeah, the two Ferraris splitting the Mercedes then kind of show that the Bottas just didn't have a good season.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, there was some memorable moments as well from that season. That was when obviously Ricciardo and Verstappen crashed at Baku as well.
And huge issue there. And then also going as far down up as far as to as recently as Brazil, the second last race when Verstappen should have won it.
Oh, Ocon. Yeah.
But then getting taken out by Ocon, who is arguably one of the best drivers not to get a seat this season. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Mercedes should have given him a seat for that. He gifted Hamilton the win by taking out...
Toto Wolff was the person who gave Bottas that seat, and I have to admit it was a very good move. Considering how good he's doing this season compared to last season. How they actually gave him that risk.
What do you think about that, Max?
Because it was Ocon's. It would have been Ocon's first ever time in a top team, and you don't really know what would have happened.
Probably far too much a struggle. I mean, as a jump from that to Mercedes, I think would be way too difficult for him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's great. I think he's. Don't get me wrong. I think he's great, and I think his position as reserve for Mercedes now is
probably a great thing for him.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for him, but I think they made, as much as, I'm more of a Hamilton fan than a Bottas fan, I think Toto's decision to keep Bottas even after a struggle of a season was a much smarter plan, as we obviously can see now from the beginning of this season.
Certainly paying off now. The only thing I would say about that argument, and I mean, obviously now I'm not particularly, Bottas is actually proving himself more this season than obviously last, but is obviously Ocon was Force India, Bottas was Williams, so it would be about the same jump. But yeah, as you say, after his first season in F1, even though it wasn't great, it was probably they wanted the stability and consistency to stick with Bottas.
I think it was long term the correct move for Merck at the time. I think maybe heading into a regulation change such as 2021, it could be a correct move for the Merck team, because
do you reckon
no driver
2021 is when he's going to get the seat?
I do believe that's when he'll get the Merck seat, because it will be his first. It'll be an actual, and that'll be the major reg change upcoming, which would scream it to me just simply because it's not. No driver is going to be used to it, so a rookie probably has as good as a chances as a veteran at that time. Like
it's
if
the best point to come into such a powerful car.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a rookie, like a rookie regaining form, if they give Ocon test drives, like like testing considerably on the current cars until 2021, I think he'll be a dominant force in 2021 aside Lewis Hamilton, who will probably stay, I'd say, until 2025. Then, if he hasn't broken, he'll either leave after he's broken Schumacher's record, or he'll retire at 25 for the 2025 season, or if he just falls off the face of the planet after, because Hamilton's ego is the type of thing that would see him go into Formula E.
I think, the desire to keep winning.
Yeah,
to keep racing.
He's addicted to that feeling, and he's just had that his whole career.
Yeah, like
he wouldn't be able to just give that up easy.
He reminds me a lot of Ayrton in that way, because they're both like love winning. They just want to win. That's all they wanted. It's just win after win after win. It's all they've ever wanted. It's just to win.
He idolizes Ayrton so much because they're such similar characters in their racing style.
Yeah.
Well, in their racing personalities more than anything.
And they're both
thrive to win.
Exactly, they're both bad losers because they hate to lose. You know, I remember after Australia and Hamilton was sort of interviewed, and he just didn't want to. He was so angry, even though he got P2. But he just hates being beaten, and Ayrton was the same. And I think that makes him that sort of. I think there's a slight difference in mentality between Hamilton and a lot of people in the grid, because not many people would be that angry with the second place, I think.
Yeah, like even after if we even go back as far as 2016, the Nico Rosberg Hamilton era of how many incidents they had, they actually hated each other for so long because of Hamilton's urge to just win. Like, like the only reason Rosberg retired is because he didn't want to put up with Hamilton the following season. I'd say that's the only reason he didn't continue on. Like,
I mean, dealing with someone so competitive is never going to be easy. That's the thing. It
reminds me a lot of Niki Lauda versus James Hunt, I believe. What was the one? It was such a tense rivalry that Hunt just retired. But I suppose it wasn't really due to his ego. It was more due to him just being the absolute party goer. He just loved partying.
Yes.
He just couldn't give it up.
Yeah, I mean, and I think also that Senna obviously had that with Prost in terms of they actually respect each other loads once Prost retired, but when they were racing with each other and against each other, they were terrible.
Like,
oh god,
like Prost, like Senna's last ever time on the podium was the race Prost retired. That's incredible. Was Australia, which is the last race of that season that Prost retired, that Prost won.
Yeah.
Was the last time either of them were on the podium, because I think Senna wanted to go to Williams because they had that new computer thing in their car that manually adjusted the suspension.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and then he went, obviously Williams
and as soon as he joined, it got banned.
Yeah. And the car was decent, but then obviously the brake failure.
The car as a whole was actually awful. It was quote unquote undrivable because it was built around that machine.
Oh, and then once they took it out,
it was actually quoted by Frank Williams as undrivable about his own car.
Yeah, that's quite staggering to me. About
your charge says it, yeah.
Like after, like he was the last driver dead in F1, like on track.
Well, unfortunately, obviously.
Well,
he died technically in the hospital, but
yes, on track on that day.
Yeah.
Jules Bianchi is another one that's awful that shouldn't have happened, but I suppose it
The Bianchi
happens.
one was more freak than anything. That's what made it so tragic, because the fact that the yellow flags came out quite late, it was a really wet track. Obviously the recovery vehicle, and of all the places he went off right into the recovery vehicle.
Yes.
It was just so many factors had to go wrong for that to happen. That's why it was so freakish, and it also makes it more tragic because it's just completely so unlucky.
Yeah, but how he also died years later was kind of horrible.
Yeah, it was a year later.
Yeah, from that actual accident. Like, but if you think about it, Senna almost didn't race in the race he died because another driver died that weekend.
Yeah, literally in qualifying, wasn't it? And,
and it was the day before, wasn't it Barrichello that also...
Barrichello had the awful crash, and somehow that looked the worst out of all of them. Yeah. That looked the worst out of every single crash, and yet he survived that one.
Yeah, and
still,
F1 actually argued that it should have been that the events that revolved around that's it for me. The actual crashes is that apparently the F1 medic was a good friend of Ayrton, and he actually said just retire.
Yeah.
Before the actual next day, he went out on track and died on that very same day. Like,
well, it's massively
unfortunate that
affected his attitude for the whole weekend. I mean, even the Barrichello incident absolutely put him off of his game.
Yeah.
You seeing a fellow driver die and then you've got to race the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be horrific, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as we know in general, that track is not a safe circuit.
No, it was not. It's a lot of barriers, a lot of hard concrete barriers, and just disaster waiting to happen, unfortunately.
As far as I'm aware, it was recently changed. After
I think it was.
Yeah, it was drastically changed after, but the question still lies: was it enough?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate it took the death of those two people for there to be a change.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if it would have just been the death of Rosenberger, I'm not sure if it would have changed. I think it took the death of someone as big as Senna to shake the entire F1 world. It's tragic, but that's just how it seems to be.
A lot of people, even outside of F1, know about Senna's death. Like everybody.
Exactly.
Not many people know about Ratzenberger's.
Yeah, exactly.
Not many people know about it. Like, there's actually a fair amount of people that they don't even know who exactly Jules Bianchi was, which is horrible.
Yeah, that's...
Oh yeah, a good few people.
Unless you know your actual F1, you don't know about half of this stuff.
Yeah.
No.
It's not like mainstream knowledge, those.
This is not how I saw this podcast going, talking about death for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's just the effect that I have, you know. I turn up and I just cause everyone to talk about it.
Yeah. Just rambling, really, to an extent.
Well, that's what happens when you bring Ayrton Senna in, I think.
Yeah,
it's just you can't help but talk about it, and because it's the nostalgia, but then also the tragedy, and you just can't escape.
As we were also talking about Lewis Hamilton and also who are the best around him, such as in my personal opinion, I don't think it's easy to say who is the best driver of all time. You cannot say it.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to judge.
Because
the top people we're talking about have so many different reasons why they can and can't. I mean,
and it's all in a different era.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cars. We never seen Fangio. Fangio could be in that.
Oh god, yeah.
Could be in that, but
he's level with Hamilton. He's on 5 championships.
We've never seen him though. That's the thing.
No, he was in the real old school in the '60s. Those really old
He
school
was
F1 cars.
he was the second ever F1 winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how.
That's how far back. He was the first ever multiple world champion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was. He was. Yeah.
Because he won his second and fourth season, if I believe correctly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, as you say, the first multiple one. Because as you say, he wasn't around in it. F1 wasn't around for that long. He was in there from pretty much the very start. So, yeah, and but also people judge it on different things. People judge it on entertainment value. People judge it on championships, purely on championships. You go for Schumacher. For like skill and like ability in like extreme conditions like the wet, a lot of people go Senna. And then for pure speed, I mean, a lot of some people go Hamilton even to that extent because Hamilton's pole laps
and kind of hashtag blessed. Like he has the most pole laps in history, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a lot of them people forget he got a lot of them in a McLaren that that wasn't dominant at all. It was level with the Ferraris at the time, and he managed to do that.
Everybody has their reason, and everybody has a reason for judging it in a particular way. But in my opinion, they're all different cars. They're all different eras of car. It is so difficult to judge. Like Ayrton's McLaren is so different to Fangio's car. It's so different to Hamilton's
Fangio's
car.
The most different. It
to Hamilton's car. To even Schumacher's cars.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, like it's incredible that Schumacher still holds 4 track records on the calendar with these cars that we currently have.
Yeah, I mean, we have some of the fastest cars now.
Yeah,
but that engine, the scream of that engine.
Oh my god, the V8s were incredible. I miss them.
I miss that. I miss that so much.
Okay,
it's just music.
Oh, music to my ears. Like, I am a person, when I'm playing career mode, I will listen to music over it, because I don't like to roar the V6.
No, I don't. Oh. Okay, no, I don't. But.
What'd you do?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Don't even answer. I'll get off topic.
Yes, you're right.
But no, like, off topic is fine. It's just that it's relevant, not on the actual gameplay.
Yes.
Like, I'm not even trying. I barely have the throttle down. I'm braking so early just because I'm the one doing the bloody video and such. But like, it's actually incredible that if you think about the difference of cars over the years from aero to engines to everything, it's incredible on how much the sport has evolved under all of the owners. Like, even certain tracks are still here today, like Monaco, Britain, even
Monza. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, people think that Monaco should be taken off the calendar. Like, a lot of people believe it who are like new to F1, and you are wrong. I don't care what argument you have against it. You are wrong if you say Monaco does not deserve to be on the F1 calendar.
I think the debate is for a lot of people though is no one doubts it's iconic, but it's also
a very boring race.
It's a very boring race, and obviously that all races can be boring, even the most exciting tracks like Baku. But it's just that Monaco consistently, because of the way the track is. But at the same time, it's obviously the track that takes the most skill because of how there's no room for failure. Like, so it's sort of balancing that, because you want to see these drivers who are incredible, and you want to see them justify why they're they're the best. And Monaco is a great example for them to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think Graham Hill has the most wins around Monaco, if I'm not mistaken, and he's the only person to win the Triple Crown at the moment.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Won it once.
Alonso, McLaren didn't get into Indy, so Alonso still can't do it now.
Until next season. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah,
like,
next time.
People underestimate how iconic a Triple Crown is.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
Like-
three very different races with very different skill sets.
Yeah, like IndyCar, you just turn right or to left.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. It's just turn left or turn right.
It's left.
I haven't watched IndyCar that much, honestly. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's left. I'm
I
pretty
can't say
sure.
I have
Yeah,
either, but
Yeah, it's left, I think. Then there's the 24-hour Le Mans, which comes under endurance racing, which is one of the most.
Yeah, that's exceptional.
It's one of the most entertaining races out there. Like iRacing, for example, I've always wanted to do on
the full 24-hour.
the actual 24-hour Le Mans. Sorry, my headset just got off there.
Yeah.
It just happens at times. Like I've wanted to do it for so long, and I just kind of have to at some point that on iRacing because it's so iconic. It's probably the closest you'll ever get to doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember on a grid you could do it, but it was 24 minutes instead of 24 hours.
Yeah, I remember.
And it would like change from night to day, and it was like, yeah, that was so iconic to do.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we're getting a bit off topic.
oh yeah, very much.
About other
We can
games.
ramble on about this under the actual video games part at the end about the new F1
Yes.
game. Like it'll come under that again. But like, I want to say one more point on the on like the best drivers. Like,
Yeah.
if you compare championships or you compare the amount of points scored, you can't, for one reason, because the point system is so drastically changed from year to year. Like, just compare how many points a first was, compare how many points a first is now.
And also how many races there are on the calendar. They used to be far less.
Yes, of course. It's incredible. So I don't think you can. I think you can argue for 4 or 5 different drivers as the greatest of all time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Right, should we move on to the drivers' transfers, or should we do pre-season testing first? Do you want to do?
We'll do driver transfers, I suppose, because that would have come before pre-season testing.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick this off, and we're going to begin at the bottom, I think, from like the slowest cars to the strongest cars.
Okay, yeah.
Let's
Well, we know where we're starting then.
let's talk about Williams. What do you think
Yes.
of? More importantly, let's talk about Robert Kubica's return.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of that?
I mean, I think it's one of those things where I almost like, I want to say Schumacher's son. I think it's a great story. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he's still an F1 driver far better than I could ever be.
Oh yeah,
But,
of course. Any of them is, even Lance Stroll is to an extent.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's not push it.
Don't say his name.
But
The one who shall not be named.
yeah,
Yes.
that's how we will refer to him. No, I think it's a great story. I think.
Of course, yeah.
Is what it is. But obviously, again, when we're talking about Williams, we really have to respect that their car is a big struggle.
I believe that it's. I think it's very hard to judge either driver at that team at the moment.
Williams.
Yeah, at Williams.
I mean, I think especially with Russell, I mean, he's an exceptional driver, but it's so hard.
He won F2.
Exactly, it's so hard to now. I don't think you can judge him on his ability now.
Honestly, with Williams, I honestly believe that you're in a position right now with Williams that you're saying that young drivers are saying that I think I'll stay in F2 another year and try and get a different seat.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them. I think that's the clever thing to... Because the only thing you can compare Russell and Kubica to is each other, because... and obviously consistently Russell has been quicker than Kubica. That's the only thing I would say. Consistently, Russell has usually finished ahead. Kubica as well has been quicker than them.
Let's assume that they were in a decent car. Like, let's assume the Williams was closer to the pack.
Yeah.
Where in the pack as a driver would they be?
I mean, if we're saying they're, as in, are we saying they're like McLaren pace, or are we saying they're better?
In and around the midfield pack, like just hovering around it,
yes,
I mean, then
on average, what would you say, like close to the points, in the points, or out of the points?
I'd
like,
say
consistently.
in with Russell, because again, if we're saying that he beat Norris in F2, then
that's
and
what
if we're saying
exactly
in the round about the same car, if he's beating Norris in F2, then he's going to be doing, the same, if not better, in F1.
I think with Kubica, I think it's a different story, just because of how much slower he is than his teammate, and I understand there's legitimate reason for that because of his injury.
Yeah,
it
it's serious,
him, especially. Yeah, it's really serious. His hand is slightly shorter because it's been really badly damaged. He always has it behind his back for interviews. And I completely agree with Max. It's one of those things. It's a lovely story, but it's always going to end like that. It's always going to end with him just being so uncompetitive. And a lot of people, to be fair, say, and I think this is a bit of a silly argument considering it's the Williams. Like, why doesn't they give it to someone younger? Well, we know it wouldn't have made a difference because of how slow the Williams is. But at the same time, it's still an F1 seat.
I've heard rumours. I can't confirm or deny if these are true or not, but I've heard rumours that Ocon was meant to be fighting for the Williams seat.
Well, he made the right move in not doing that.
But
that would have tarnished his reputation, even though it was nothing to do with him.
I honestly don't believe. I think he was offered it, but he turned it down, and then they went with Kubica. I think.
Again, I think that was a smart move from him if that's what they did.
That's what I honestly believe, because I don't see how you give Robert Kubica. No offense to Kubica at all when I say this. He just isn't the driver he used to be.
No, and it's completely understandable. Why not? But,
yeah,
I agree with you.
But yes, I agree that he could be a great driver consistently in the future. He's a great driver. He had a great time when he was in F1, and I'm just happy to see him back. It's like when Michael Schumacher returned to F1 for a brief
Mercedes, and even though
for a brief stint.
Yeah. Even though he wasn't the same driver,
it was
still iconic, and he's still.
It was lovely.
It's a story. It's seeing a legend come back who you thought you'd never see again, right?
Yes, it's just lovely to see for actual bloody nostalgia, like Mick Schumacher, who's his son in F2. If you'll get to F1, that's an entirely different kettle of fish that I'm not even going to get into, because that's going to be a very controversial debate.
Oh, for definitely.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to see for an actual point of history.
Ferrari,
of history.
Yeah, for Ferrari's young driver program, it's quite iconic to see a Schumacher back in them. But it's also part of the reason they signed him was because of the name as well. No doubt, just because of the not just because of the name. He obviously has to have ability.
He also has some talent, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's also similar why Williams chose Kubica maybe as well. And as you say, if Ocon turned them down, they either got a choice between an unknown youngster from F2, or they've got a big name like Kubica who's coming back from a horrible injury, really fairy tale story. You get a lot more support. People wanted Kubica to do well.
You also think of the money that came with it. I think like Kubica is probably the only reason that Williams is after getting the deal with Rocket, which is the Polish fuel company, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think it's a Polish fuel company.
I think it is.
As far as I'm aware. But I believe it's a Polish company anyway that is the reason that they're supporting Kubica. That's why Williams, in the end, if Ocon didn't turn it down, I think that's the reason in the end that they may have took Kubica over him, because of Rocket. Because of the departing of Martini.
Yeah.
As the title sponsor. Even though
hang on, it says here that Rocket's a global telecommunications company. It doesn't say exactly where it's from.
I believe I believe it's Eastern European anyway, like somewhere around that, because that would make sense to me.
Yeah, it would make sense, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to... It's not really saying where from. It says it's heavily based in India, but I'm not sure if it's actually an Indian company.
I don't know then if my point was accurate, but that's only what I heard.
It certainly makes sense.
It makes sense. Because, like, why would a company like Rokish just come into F1?
Yeah.
Or Williams? Like, it doesn't make sense. Unless they had a face to put behind it.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like how is it who's the rich guy from Mexico? The really rich guy in Mexico. Yeah, the something Slim. He's the reason that they picked Perez over Ocon apparently because of the money that he brought in.
Yeah.
Because the amount of money
F1 is a lot about money.
Yeah,
sponsorships and
like if you compare the funding to Mercedes to Williams, it's ridiculous. There's no sign of financial fair play. There's a lot of F2 teams that could probably do better than Williams at this point in time.
Yeah, definitely.
But honestly, just can't afford to go into F1 because
it's so much more money.
Because of how much money it costs.
And I mean, there was a point as well with certain teams. I don't think it's the case now, but a couple of years ago, with the backmarker teams when we used to have Caterham and Marussia, where the drivers actually had to pay to drive for those teams because they literally did not have the money. So they didn't choose on ability; it was who can pay the most money. So as a result, you had drivers who, ability-wise, weren't really cut out for F1. They were in a crap car anyway, to be fair, but they had to be able to pay for it. Yeah, he's a great. I like him as a pundit, though.
Of course.
Very good pundit.
I will give two examples of that: Karun Chandok and Narain Karthikeyan.
Both Indians, but yes.
Nothing
against Indians, just interesting. But I remember the Indian Grand Prix, actually.
Let's just address Tiamat Marduk's cucumber challenge with Narain Karthikeyan. It's a common fact. I think it was I think it was Alonso that called him that actually, a cucumber.
Yeah.
Alonso's called a lot of people a lot of things.
Yes, he has. He does like doing that.
But moving on to Sauber, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sauber, as we know, are no longer actually called Sauber, but they're still based out of Hinwil in Switzerland, but they're now dressed as Alfa Romeo Racing.
Yeah.
Because it's now they were the title sponsor in 2017, and apparently they're now putting more money into it to be the actual team name, but run by
they bought the name.
Yeah, but run by the exact same people.
Yeah.
They changed their driver lineup, and I'm glad to see that Marcus Ericsson no longer has a seat.
Yes, completely. I agree with that. I think he didn't deserve it.
He was only there, but once again because of money. He had a bit of an investment behind it, but because it's now Alfa Romeo, they no longer need it. It isn't Sauber, it's now Alfa Romeo, and Alfa Romeo are putting a lot of money into that team. You can even see by how much they've grown over the last 2 years.
Yeah, so they also Alfa Romeo also had 2 new drivers, obviously because Leclerc went up to Ferrari, and
which we'll talk about later.
Which we'll talk about in more detail later. But so then obviously you have Antonio Giovinazzi, who had a brief stint in
2017.
Was it last season? No, 2017. Yeah, you're right. And he had a spectacular crash in China. He kept crashing out on the final corner. He did it in practice, qualifying, and then the race. He just could not do that corner. And he only had 3 races, and then he went back to reserve driver.
And let's also remember that was also in a Sauber car.
Yeah, exactly.
As an interesting point on that.
He's part of the Ferrari
brand.
He's part of the Ferrari youth program. He's in the driver program for Ferrari, and so obviously they kept him around even after that failed stint.
And next to him, it's the old veteran, the oldest man on the grid now, Kimi Räikkönen.
Indeed.
I'm happy to see Kimi on that team. It might sound ridiculous, but I'm happy to see him there.
I think it suits him quite well at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
And he can make that car quite competitive, even though it's not particularly great. I don't think it's as good as last year, where Leclerc, it was actually could be quite quick, as well as Leclerc's driving, obviously. But
I think it's only a tad bit slower, honestly, than last year's car. But I think that
maybe.
But I
Leclerc
think it'll also improve over time, as it is more or less a Ferrari, like a full Ferrari customer team.
Yeah.
Like, they buy most of their parts off Ferrari, sort of like Haas as well, which we'll get into later on as well.
Yeah.
Going to from that to what else there? What do you believe on Antonio Giovinazzi's seat?
Do
you think
Max, you want to go first on this?
Do you think it was the correct move, or Antonio Giovinazzi's seat?
Oh, it was
the whole
being an Alpha.
Yeah. Do you think it's deserved?
I mean, I think he's decent from what we've seen in F1. I think he has a lot to learn.
Of course,
more than anything. So maybe that doesn't. I mean, he's going to make mistakes. Being new.
And he also is one of the oldest rookies now. He's been he's been tagged to come up for so long. Like, I think maybe you should have given Vittorio Luizzi or Antonio Luizzi a shot over him, just because of him being younger. And I honestly believe that he has more to prove.
Well, I think with that situation, obviously Giovinazzi has had a brief shot in F1 before this, because those 3 races in first 3 in 2017.
It was actually the first 2. It was actually the first 2 because Bahrain was 3rd.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I forget it wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't had a full season, so I can understand it. But he hasn't done awful this season, but he hasn't done amazing.
There's not really much to talk about him, I think, is why it's difficult to say if he deserves it. I mean, because as you say, he only had a brief stint coming up.
So
we can't judge him on that too much. And then at the moment, it's kind of a meh situation.
And in my opinion, also Kimi Räikkönen is a perfect seat for him. So as a perfect teammate to learn from, especially.
No, definitely. He's got someone. He's got a really experienced veteran with him.
Like, there's not many drivers who I'd take over him to teach me the ropes of F1.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I think the only driver I might hazard a guess at is Lewis Hamilton, because he's an absolute phenom. But
obviously,
But outside that, no, I think I'd take him. I'd either take him or Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. And also, I think with Giovinazzi, you know, it's always going to be difficult this season as well, because as much as, like, obviously Raikkonen can teach him, you always compare to your teammate, and it's quite a difficult teammate for your first full season it's Raikkonen. So I think we have to take that into consideration. I think he's yet to score points, though.
I believe so.
Yes,
which
I don't believe he has.
That needs to change soon, I think.
Because it's not like a Williams, you know, he's got a bit more leeway where you can't blame him on power as much. And as I say, I think he's made some mistakes. Australia, when he was holding up Norris, you know,
ruined
messing
his
tyres up, completely big mistake. As much as it held Norris up, it did him no favours, because Norris got past him anyway.
And in Bahrain, he torpedoed the torpedo.
Yes.
And also,
but again, I mean, he's new, so...
Yeah. But then again, like, if he's holding up Lando Norris and he's not doing his tyres any favour, isn't it also slightly on the team to tell him to box? Can that be entirely shifted on him?
Yeah. No, you are right in that.
It's definitely not entirely...
because, like, fair enough...
how it used to be. It's very much, obviously, now cordoned by, you know, computers, engineers...
Especially if he's young. It's the
I've gotten... Oh!
That looked nasty, as you'll see from the gameplay, but it is, as he's young as well, it's sort of the team's responsibility as well, to let him know, so I do agree with that.
I'm gonna watch in spectator. My hands are killing me, and I have a 5-second stop go, so I'll just watch, we get to see a bit of Arctic.
You get some good camera angles, There's not much to watch, I'm afraid, but...
Well, you know, that's something. Actually, you know what? We'll go to the leaders. So see if actually no.
Yeah, go to the front. See if there's any good battles.
Okay, there's a three-way scrap between Ocon, Magnussen, and Verstappen. That's going to be fun.
Also, can I just point out that Arctic Fox or Max is currently in where Giovinazzi usually is from the race, sort of about P15, P16.
Yeah, definitely.
Like most consistently.
Like,
okay, Ericsson's pitted, so he just ruined everything.
Everybody, please note that this is the F1 2018 game. This is the exact grid at the moment. Please don't take reference for this. This is still being played on 2018 game. Thank you.
Yes.
Probably should point that out just in case.
Yes,
there's any confusion.
just in case everyone's like, wait, what? Ocon's still racing?
But
I think that covers Alpha pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. We'll move to McLaren next, I suppose. I can actually bring up all of the analytics and everything from last season.
Yes.
F1 2019 because we're not running. We'll go to McLaren. The lineup is Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. I think this is a very strong lineup considering Alonso didn't want to continue because he wanted to go into IndyCar. And Van Dorn was struggling, to say the least, in F1.
Oh, yeah.
It's no hidden secret. Honestly, out of all the drivers, I did want to see him win. To be fair, I did want to see him succeed. I liked him.
He was hyped up to be, because obviously he won F2, and he was hyped up to be like the next Verstappen, and because of how well he did in F2. But in F1, he was only given one season, but that's F1. You only have about one season.
No, he had 2 seasons.
Most teams.
He had 2 seasons.
Oh, did he have 2 seasons?
I believe he had 2 seasons.
That's even worse then.
I believe he had 2017 and 2018 because didn't Jenson Button come in for one race alongside him in 2017 when Alonso went off to IndyCar to do the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, he did Monaco.
He actually had 2 seasons, which I think just discredited him even more. I'd say something if he only had
if
one
it's
season.
One season, you could argue maybe it's a bit harsh, but 2 seasons, no, that makes it far worse. Yeah, especially for someone who's hyped up so much, did so well in F2. But it just shows that F2 isn't like an indication of someone who's going to be amazing. Because I'm pretty sure Verstappen, maybe he did win F2, but it's not like necessarily the indication of how amazing you're going to be, because a lot of drivers like Van Dorn win F2 and then they just never make it in F1. It's
exactly like Nico Hulkenberg if we think about it. Like, look at how much Nico Hulkenberg has done in his junior career, and now look at his F1 career.
He's not got a podium.
It's the longest stint in history, I think, of a driver without a podium.
And what must hurt him most is the fact that Lance Stroll has a podium. That would eat me up inside. When you're about 1 billion times better driver than Stroll, and yet you've fucking got that.
Trust me, I say that. I would say that 8 bloody Marcus Ericsson up.
Yeah.
And that's saying something, or Van Dorn up.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. I say that 8 everybody up.
Well, we'll get onto it more when we go on to Racing Point.
Yes, of course.
So, yeah. Quick Stroll run.
They replace a rookie with a rookie. Well, like a young driver with a young driver, and it's an upgrade from Van Dorn to Lando Norris. Lando Norris, in my opinion, right now is the rookie of the season so far. I would say
I'd agree with that.
George Russell could be there if he wasn't in a bloody Williams, God forbid. God bless him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, as a McLaren fan, I adore their lineup.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz has been a solid driver. He's been driving consistently. He's just been having engine failures during the race, which is upsetting to see.
He had Australia, and then
Bahrain.
It was very nice to see him in Bahrain holding with a Red Bull.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
which was amazing. But obviously, then it went wrong, which was a real shame for him.
Yeah.
And then obviously, China was very upsetting for McLaren with Kvyat, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Norris fly. But again, I think it's a great lineup because
And then
Norris,
Baku got points.
Norris, as
Got a
we've
point.
seen, has been exceptional.
Mm.
In retrospect to the car he's in, and I think Sainz is a really underrated driver. I mean, I love him even more because his father, because I love rally driving. But I think Sainz is really underrated. So I think they've got a really solid team in what looks like, thank God, after a good few years of McLaren struggling, a much better McLaren car.
Can I pull up an interesting fact about Norris from this season?
Go on.
He's the only driver outside the top 3 teams to finish in the top 6 so far.
That's very interesting. What race was that again?
It was in Bahrain when he finished P6 because both the Renaults retired.
And also Vettel spun as well.
Yes, and Vettel spun, exactly. But I mean, considering how obviously we'll go into this more. This season has been the top 3. It's been even the gap between the midfield and the top 3 teams has been even bigger than it was last season, and it seems to unfortunately keep getting bigger. To be the only driver to finish any of those races in the top 6 when he's a rookie,
as a rookie, especially,
incredible. And I think that's
the youngest on the grid.
It also
no, I think Russell's younger.
Yeah, I think he's like I think it's like by a month or something like that. It's very close between the two. It's very close between the two. I also, but it reminds me also a lot of Pierre Gasly last season at Bahrain as well.
Yeah.
Gasly
Gasly.
He done something very similar. Yeah, he actually finished 4th in Bahrain last season, so it's very similar.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, no, I do remember. I do remember that.
But that is before the Toro Rosso became a guinea pig.
Yes.
Which
we'll go on to Toro Rosso in a minute.
We can go on to them next, actually, if we're done talking about McLaren.
Yeah, I think the one final thing on McLaren.
Team.
So
as Max said, solid team,
much
solid
better
lineup.
car than than the past couple seasons. So if you're a McLaren fan, it's certainly looking up.
I would say them, and I'd argue Renault probably had the best driver swaps this season.
Yeah, they're certainly. Yeah, I think they're very, very solid driver swaps. And, I think both teams are doing well.
Then if we go to we'll go to Toro Rosso next, actually. Alexander Albon and Kvyat.
Yeah. Well, I know when Fiat came out, it was a bit controversial.
It is very controversial. I see the controversy because I've never been a big Kvyat fan. Especially when he gets dropped halfway through a season. For I think was it Brendan Hartley? Or was it Gasly or who?
No.
Or who replaced him?
No, he wasn't dropped halfway through. He was dropped halfway through the season in Red Bull, wasn't it? Toro Rosso, was he?
No, but after the Carlos Sainz madness happened.
Oh no! Yeah, you're right. No, it was. I think it was.
Yeah, the Sainz loan. Then they also decided to drop. They dropped Kvyat as well and picked up Brendan Hartley and Pierre Gasly. You getting dropped by Brendan Hartley reserves your right to never return to Formula 1. End of story.
I think that was a bad decision because Brendan Hartley didn't prove to be
he was shit.
As good as. Yeah, exactly. I think they.
Excuse my French, but he was.
No, he was. Yeah, he was dreadful, and he had a lot of crashes as well.
Well,
he just didn't look comfortable.
I think the only reason Hartley was there is because he won WEC, didn't he? He won World Endurance.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think it was something like that.
And at the time they were having like issues with their driver program because nobody else was over 18 at the time.
Yeah, they were struggling
because Albon wasn't actually old enough to race.
No.
And then now Gasly got promoted after Ricciardo left, and then they kind of had the issue of them having to re-sign Kvyat to partner with the incoming Alexander Albon to replace Brendan Hartley. So to be honest with you, they probably made the best of a bad set of cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. And I personally, I think the Fiat criticism, I think it's sometimes a bit over the top, and I think it does become a bit of a meme, with the torpedo thing, and I think that doesn't help.
Yes, of course.
Because, I mean, he's miles better than Brendan Hartley was, and the fact that I understand why they did drop him because the signs thing was stupid at Silverstone when he just completely took him out, and that was a disaster for Toro. So I completely understand that. But I mean, we're seeing positive signs of the season.
Yes,
he's
definitely.
He's only been a torpedo once, and that was at China, which I know Max won't be too forgiving of. But the fact is, he's only been a torpedo once. He's been torpedoed by Giovinazzi, and he's very solid. I mean, at Spain, he was brilliant. He did some really nice overtakes, and he's doing well in that car. So I think, as you say, they didn't really have that much choice. But he's not. I think hopefully, I want him to do well. I hope that he can prove his potential, because I think there is potential.
I think there is.
Because
yeah.
He was promoted to Red Bull, so that shows that he did have some potential. Because
he was promoted to Red Bull because Max Verstappen at the time was unproven, and then Max Verstappen got an absolute miracle of a win when the bloody Mercs took each other out.
Yeah, true. But at the same time,
at
the same time, they still.
Yeah.
He still did decent for Red Bull. He still got a couple of podiums before he got,
Yeah.
Fucked.
Oh dear.
Oh, looks like Max is disconnected.
Okay. Will we just continue so?
Yeah, we can always. I guess we can always invite him. I can.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be his internet's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just put the party back on pub. No, actually, I can't. That's probably a bad idea.
Just invite him now, so that when he comes.
Invite. Yeah. I believe that. Anyway, speaking of, I believe that they made the best out of a bad hand. That's pretty much it. It isn't bad, but it isn't also, but it is preferable. But to be fair, now they're probably going to be a guinea pig team again.
Yeah, that is the case. Obviously that they are the junior team, that they've got to sort of understand that, I guess. But yeah. Okay, so what sort of situation? What do we want to do now? Because obviously I haven't got.
We can just sit in the menu, I suppose. We can just sit in the menu if you want. Like in the actual main menu.
Max is back.